This is Trade Flow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. Trade Flow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Global oil benchmark Brent hovered above $80 a barrel on Thursday after U.S. inflation data implied interest rates in the world's biggest economy are close to their peak. Data released on Wednesday showed U.S. consumer prices rose modestly in June and registered their smallest annual increase in more than 2 years as inflation continued to subside. Markets expect one more interest rate rise before the U.S. rate hiking cycle peaks. Higher rates can slow economic growth and reduce oil demand.
Saudi Arabia imported record volumes of discounted Russian fuel oil in June, a near tenfold annual increase to meet summer power generation demand and maintain crude exports despite OPEC Plus production cuts, according to traders, analysts and Kepler data. For Russia, its growing oil trade with the world's biggest exporter enables it to keep output flowing to global buyers despite Western sanctions that have shut its access to key markets including Europe. Saudi Arabia imported a record 910,000 metric tons, 193,000 barrels per day, of fuel oil from Russia in June, data from analytics firm Kepler showed.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
OPEC on Thursday maintained an upbeat world oil demand outlook despite economic headwinds, raising its growth forecast for 2023 and predicting only a slight slowdown in 2024 as China and India continue to drive the expansion in fuel use. In a monthly report, the OPEC said it expects world oil demand to rise by 2.25 million barrels per day, BPD, in 2024, compared with growth of 2.44 million barrels of oil per day in 2023. It raised its 2023 demand growth forecast by 90,000 barrels of oil per day from last month's report.
Russian Urals oil jumped $2 to $3 above the $60 per barrel Western price cap on Thursday, boosted by strengthening in international benchmark Brent and additional export cuts announced by Russia in August, Reuters calculations based on traders' data showed. Calculated prices for Urals oil cargoes loading from Baltic ports and Black Sea Novorossiysk were at $62.22 per barrel on Thursday and $63.22 per barrel, respectively, according to the data and calculations. The price cap of $60 per barrel was introduced in December by G7 countries. Washington said it would help to avoid supply disruptions by keeping Russian oil flowing, while also limiting revenues for Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
China's copper imports fell 16.4% in June from a year earlier, customs data showed on Thursday, restrained by strong domestic production and weak demand in the world's top consumer of the metal. Imports of unwrought copper and copper products totaled 449,649 metric tons in June, data from the General Administration of Customs showed. The metal, including anode, refined, alloy and semi-finished copper, is used widely in construction, transportation and power sectors.
Prices for rare earths sank to their lowest since late 2020 this week as soft demand from green energy companies and the automotive sector combined with rising supply from top producer China, analysts said on Thursday. Concerns have grown that China could further restrict exports of the strategic minerals after it limited exports of germanium and gallium late last month. But the sharp drop in prices reflects a weak patch in demand and plentiful supply, as China acts to shore up its dominance in the market, analysts said. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. A bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers introduced legislation this week directing the Biden administration to allow oil refiners to purchase compliance credits for U.S. biofuel blending laws at a lower, fixed cost compared to the open market. The proposal would reduce rising compliance costs associated with the U.S. Renewable Fuel Standard, RFS, and aim to help struggling refineries stay afloat at a time of great flux in the global energy markets, lawmakers said. As part of the standard, oil refiners must blend billions of gallons of biofuels into the nation's fuel mix, or buy tradable credits from those that do.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to Trade Flow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at Trade Flow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.